Welcome to the Gradual Grind. My name is Jonathan
I'm
Marcel.
Evan Anderson.
And for those of you that are new to the channel, we have a weekly discussion, or we try to have a weekly discussion. We've
Yeah.
been slacking a little bit these past few months for
Mhm.
different reasons, but we have a weekly discussion about honest struggles we face as aspiring entrepreneurs that have full-time jobs and that are just trying to figure out life and our career.
Mhm.
And we try our best to be completely transparent. We try to bring up relevant topics, not some crazy, oh yeah, well, I don't know how to spend my 100,000, right? These are actual topics most people can relate to,
Mhm.
and we just explore them. And these are not scripted. These are not really planned out ahead of time. We pick a topic and we talk about it.
Yeah.
So if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it. That helps us out a lot, just so we can understand what topics are resonating with people and which ones are not.
Mhm.
And also, if you want to jump in the conversation because you have, something worth adding, go ahead and comment. We'll have you on. We're definitely looking for more guests.
Yes, sir. So what you do this past week, man? What's been going on in your life?
And busy, 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 busy.
Yeah.
So of course, I'm still working full time. I work from 8:30 to around 5:30, sometimes 6, just depending on what I got to do.
Mhm.
And then usually from that, going straight to practice, running our practices. I think we practice 3 times a week. And then on the days I'm not practicing, I'm at training, right? So
Mhm.
even on the weekends, I'll have training sessions. But the good thing about this year, right, or this season, is that I've actually focused on having like a consistent schedule,
Mhm.
and I have people on my planner with allotted time slots,
That's
right?
what's
So
up.
like I'm not just accepting, oh, can you train at 5 today, or oh, can you train at 4:30 instead today?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
nothing's gonna shift. If
Mhm.
you can't make your time slot, that's it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's what's
how
up,
about you, man?
man. Working and you just keeping on. Spending time with the fam. Last week I gave my pitch to my potential business partner, so we'll find out today if we're moving forward. If not, his loss. Um, but yeah, bro, I'm sticking to the grind, man.
How was your how was your experience with your first pitch? Be honest.
Oh man, so honestly, like we'll get into a little story time. So I went. So I'm currently in Kansas City. Drove 9 hours on after work on Friday. Uh, got there Friday. Got up to Wisconsin Friday night. Then I had all day Saturday to see family. This is most of my family's first time meeting my daughter, and
Yeah.
so I saw my grandparents, and then I saw my friends and my nephews. Right, just
Hmm.
not like it was like 4 different visits. Right, but so that took up most of the day. Plus the baby has a nap, all this other stuff, right? And so I'd originally planned to, do this meeting at like 5 p.m. But the schedule just kept getting pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. And so we ended up meeting at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And so I was kind of like drained because,
Bad, yeah.
like the 9 hour drive the day before, then I woke up at like 6:37 with the baby. So it's like I was gassed, but then I was like, all right, this is bigger than how you feeling right now. So I did it. I felt like it was very thorough. One thing about like working with other people, you have to kind of be selfless, and so um, I was really in the mind space of how I can help him. I'm not trying to. It also came from a part like where like I don't want to convince you to work with me. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
want to kind of inform you about this opportunity that I'm doing that I feel like you'd be a good fit in, right? And so yeah, I did that, and he was impressed. I did my homework, all that, and but he just got a lot going on. So I told him, think about it for a week, and we'll connect next week and see if we're moving forward or not. So I have a timeline that I'm meeting, whether he joins or not. So I'm getting this thing rolling soon. But yeah, it was good experience. Like I don't know, you always think of like Shark Tank or whatever, like when
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
pitching. And to be honest, it doesn't always have to be that. Like it doesn't have to be like $1 million. Yeah, like I made it professional. You know what I'm saying? Like I made it a professional environment, where I was strictly talking, seriously about moves that I wanted to change my life. And so it felt good. It did. It felt
Yeah.
good. Like I felt like I was like, all right, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, man. Raising money is not always those big, like sharks, right? Like in Shark Tank,
Yeah,
sometimes it's just the couch pitch, right? You're sitting on someone's couch in their living room trying to ask for like
yeah.
$10,000 to keep your
Yeah,
business
well,
alive.
oftentimes, even with those big companies, they call like the first round, they call them like your friends and family round. Like,
Friends and family
yeah.
around. Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep.
not that I'm looking for any more money after this, but yeah, that's just my friends and family. But yeah, so it was dope, and we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling hopeful.
Oh man,
Yeah,
dope. Man, I'm excited for you. I'm
yeah,
gonna try to keep up with the progress. So,
yeah.
and, if it works out, I'm always down to jump in later on. I just need a
It's,
proof of concept.
isn't everybody right? That's funny. No, for real. But so what I wanted to talk about today, it was just like so relevant, and it actually came up in the Secret to Success podcast that I listened to. And I'm gonna just start it off because I had a hard time explaining this even to Marcel earlier, like a couple weeks ago. But so the concept is, I believe it's Japanese. Forgive me if it's not Japanese, but I believe it's Japanese. I believe it's Japanese pottery, right? It's called kintsugi, right? And so the thought around this form of pottery is that they take pottery that was made, original. They break it, right? But then they put it back together, and the way they do it is with they line it with gold. They liquefy the gold, and then they reattach the broken pieces, right? And then you get this final result that it's more beautiful than the original, and it's way more expensive than the original. And I just felt like it was kind of like one of the best analogies for life, because I feel like a lot of people go through things, and it almost seems like it's the end, or like this is a new reality that's worse than it was before, right? Because now you're debilitated. Um, like with anything, it doesn't have to be physical. It could just be like a traumatic moment. You lose someone in your life, and now life is not as bright or as perfect as you thought it was before. Um, and so like it's just the best analogy that I've ever seen, right? And like you said, you brought this to me, and I was like, wow, you're right. If y'all have watched a previous episode of ours with Forrest Richter in the VC space, Forrest mentions that founders who have failed a startup, two, three, four times are much more likely to receive funding than someone who's going around for their first time, right?
Yep.
And to it sounds real easy to say, right? Like, oh, I failed a business, but like imagine somebody who's put their entire life into a business three times. Like they've gone dead broke, no money three times. You know how like broken you have to feel absolutely demolished.
Defeated,
Yes,
man. Yeah.
demolished, right? But the difference is they leverage their brokenness, they leverage their pain, they leverage the experience that they've taken that wasn't pleasant, right? And in the end, it makes them more valuable to the sharks, or to just to society in general, right? And like we see this over and over again in life. I mean, think about the last reality competition show where like American Idol, where you got all these different people going through, all these different contestants going through every day singing, right? But then what they give you is they give you a little bit of a backstory, right? This person was homeless. This person had a terminal disease, and they overcame the odds. Instantly their value has increased in your mind, whether it's conscious or subconscious. Like we recognize that in people who have gone through things, and who have withstood certain damaging periods. They're much more valuable after, because they've learned, they've experienced, they've gathered themselves from a time where they were nothing. And I just I fell in love with that analogy, with that thought process. And I feel like that's just the underdog story. I love underdog. I feel like I'm an underdog. And then today, uh, if I'm gonna leave this subject off for Marcel to talk about, came across this quote. Actually heard it in a movie, and then it kind of just stuck with me. Uh, it was, sorrow is a man's best educator. A man can often see further through a tear than he could with a telescope. And from that, I just, I sat here with Marcel for a little bit, and we talked about wow, I wonder what I believe the original quote was from Bruce Lee, but I wonder like what his intentions, how he took that quote versus how I interpreted it. And so my interpretation was that, like, sorrow, that it's always after something bad happens, right? And through that pain, through that traumatic experience, we learn more about ourselves. We will learn more about the world around us, and our interactions with that world, uh, than we ever could by just seeing someone else go through it, or just looking at it, from a first person perspective. Nothing can teach you like the pain of going through it. And so, seeing through those tears, all the different lessons that you've learned about yourself, about how the world perceives you, is going to put you much further ahead than someone who's just researching and looking at
Sure.
any, the no experience people. And that I feel like all three of those, everything I just said goes together perfectly. And there may be a reason I'm learning all of this right now. So yeah, that's my perspective on things, and how I've just been taking things on.
Yeah, man. I think when you brought that up, I had a couple things come straight to mind, right?
Yeah.
So it's always like that quote: "It's not losses, it's lessons."
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
The only time it's a loss is when you give up.
Yeah.
I forgot who I was watching. I think it might have been like a Big Think video or a Great Minds video on YouTube,
Mhm,
or maybe the Thanos Jew. Anyways, this besides the point. But basically, the only time you can consider it a loss
mhm,
is when you actually go backwards,
mhm,
right? When something negative actually happens from that loss.
mhm,
So, for example, let's say you have your job, right? You have your job, you have your job, you have your job, and then you're about to get let go.
mhm,
Now, if you decide to just, sullen that and feel defeated and give up and feel useless because you got let go,
mhm.
that's a loss, right? But now, if you look at your job, and you've gained skills and you're about to get let go, and then you realize the reason why you're getting let go is because maybe you're not a top performer, maybe you weren't exactly good at your job,
Mhm.
maybe you were just there too long and never made any actionable moves to stay relevant,
Mhm.
and you take that information, apply it to improving your skill set so you can be really good at your job and never have to go through this, right?
Yeah.
And you decide to make yourself so valuable by adding more skills to your repertoire
Mhm.
that now your next job's going to find you valuable. That's a win. It's a lesson, right? Because you've gained something out of it,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And so a lot of times, and I'm not going to lie, I just finished reading Atomic Habits, and I'm reading another book that basically talks about the same thing.
Mhm.
As human beings, we have the tendency to retreat back to something that makes us feel good,
Yeah,
right?
comfortableness.
Yeah, and we do our best to avoid pain
Mhm.
and suffering,
Mhm.
and that could be anything, right? That could be, we don't want to take the risk starting a business because we don't want to fail.
Yeah.
We don't want to go talk to the girl because we're scared of getting rejected,
Mhm.
right? Some of us don't want to go work out because we're embarrassed and don't want to feel bad about ourselves,
Mhm.
and we're all guilty of this
And
at some
it's
point or
gonna
another.
hurt.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we're all guilty of this some way or another. And so a lot of people, and we're all guilty of this also, retreat back to their comfort zone. But for those that can cognitively, is that the word? Yeah, anyways, that can think about this, right? And when they
Mhm.
fail or are about to go through the situation, go do it, still fail, but then learn a lesson and push through. Those are the people that make progress, right? They make progress, and eventually they get to where they want to be.
Mhm.
Compared to when people give up and just retreat back to the comfort zone, they never get anywhere. In fact, they regress, right? They get worse
Mhm.
because now they're solidifying their comfort zone even more.
Yeah.
And so
It, another thing that I know you've read, but I'm not sure. Well, I don't know if you've actually finished it, but I sent you that Grant Cardone 10x book,
10x.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of his chapters, he talks about the victim mentality, right? And so like I want to acknowledge like there's facts in life, you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that they're gonna set you back, right? And that's just that it's gonna happen. But whether you succumb to those circumstances or those facts, or you keep fighting them, is that's where you know there's the victim, or you know I don't even know what the opposite of the victim would be, but you know the go getter. But Grant talks about the victims. He calls them po' boys. He said, "Look at me, I'm po' boy, right?"
Paperboy. I don't know why that came to my mind.
Yeah. But I feel like everyone is gonna have their own story, and whether you choose to be on the receiving end of your life or on the you know trailblazing end edge of your life, it is a personal decision. And honestly, that's why people say like you're going to be your worst enemy at the end of the day, because you're going to be the only one that can inhibit yourself. And like I have those on a daily basis. I'll realize like why am I doing this to myself? There's nothing that's really standing in my way, you know. And so I feel like if we could master that, we'll get that 10x goal that we've been reaching for.
Yeah, man. And one thing you have to understand about life, right? There's this common phrase of building the plane while you're flying it.
Dang.
Right? Literally, I think that's all life is.
Yeah.
You're building the plane while you're flying it. You're trying to figure life out while you build your life, right? Something's going to go wrong. Something that's completely out of your control, right? And even if it is in your control, you know, what can you do after it goes wrong? Right? So, for example, can you help the fact that, you know, God forbid, a family member catches the terminal disease and they pass away?
No.
Right? No.
Yeah.
But if you let that affect your life so much that you're no longer progressing because, you know, you're so stepped back from that, that's a personal choice. And I know it's hard, right? Like it's especially if you're really close with that person. And for some people, it's almost impossible to deal with.
It's debilitating.
Yeah, but if you want to continue, right? Like life's not over. You still have a life to live, right? And you have to be able to, you know, take that, you know, be sad for a while, right? Kind of repair and heal, but then keep pushing forward, because I'm pretty sure that's what that person would want you to do.
Yeah, for real.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen so many not, I wouldn't say like win stories, but like someone who has you know lost somebody and then turned it into a foundation of some sort, you know, like that's a win. That's taking your experience and using it to leverage yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I think just it's important to note things like that in our lives. And you know, I want to be around people who have that mindset, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like I want people that can deal with adversity, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still learning how to do that, because sometimes shit hits me and I'm like, like,
man, yeah.
Like,
you actually just said something that like really connected with me. I just realized like, you know, this is kind of like a personal experience for me. So like I'm the leader of my family, right? And so I naturally like take on most of the responsibility and most of the adversity, right? And so like you know, my fiance, sometimes she doesn't take things as well as I do. I'm like, yeah, there ain't no way, like I can't let this stop you, but like it's her stopping herself, you know? And I don't know if it's the easiest thing to translate or to even break through to somebody.
No, I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think I had some fairly resilient people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
like my dad and mom being one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's hard, right? When, for example, I thought I was gonna just have to leave school and just give up
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't afford it, which is something we'll talk about later, right,
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit. But no, they're like, so who cares, right? Like if you can't afford it, you come home, we figure something out.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge, like this is a huge change of events in my life, right? Like
I
I was
know.
expecting to finish school, and they're just like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was so hard to understand until I went through it,
Yeah.
right? And I was stressing out so much, but once I got through it, I was like, you know what? Even though I was able to get funding for school,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? They're right. Like, so what if I had to just leave?
Mm-hmm.
I could always start again. I could always figure something out because I had enough trust in myself to be able to find a different plan.
What are we scared of? And
A lot of different things.
I know, but
I hate spiders.
no. No, man. So like for real, and I don't know why I keep bringing this dude up, but Greg Cardone, he brings like a lot of light on to subjects. So if you've been watching this, y'all know I like Undercover Billionaire. This show, they start off with $100 in a car, in a cell phone. That's it. They don't get anything else. They can't use their name, can't use any of their contacts, anything like that. Put them in a random city, and the goal is to make $1 million in 3 months. That's the short story. This man, Grant, said, I don't even need the $100. I was like, what? And so like, then he goes through the show and he ends up just leveraging, being a solid communicator and, being, I don't know, true, genuine. And so he gets a free place to stay and a like $100 tab someone paid for him at like a local restaurant that he can go like to start for the week. So his first week, he didn't spend any of that $100, right? Where most of the contestants that have gone before him always, they always just spend that money on food. That's the first thing that they buy, or a hotel for the night or something like that. And so that just like led me to thinking like, if you really are like someone who wants to work and wants to contribute and wants to win in America, I'll say this in America because I've been doing a lot of research, and in other places it's definitely much more difficult to create a life. But in America, like, what is the worst thing that could happen? Like, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Man, I ask myself that all the time, right? And this is one thing I have to realize I'm very privileged. There we go. I'm very privileged with is the fact that I still have my parents, right? And my parents have a home.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to realize even if I fail, I have a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be a huge safety net, but it's a place to go to.
Yeah.
Have housing, have food, and figure out the next step.
Right.
Well, I think for some people though, their biggest fear is that they feel like they don't have anybody, and for some people that's true, right? Like it's just them. And so homelessness is a real fear, man. Like not having a place to be or have something to eat.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like as a young person, homelessness is something, I feel like is real. And also let me add an asterisk to this, without kids, because throwing kids into the situation, then that changes everything up. But I'm talking about
a fear, man.
Yeah. But if you're by yourself, so this is speaking from like I'm not even a single person, but from a single person that just wants to be great, right? If you want to work and you want to do all those things that I mentioned before, I feel like that won't happen to you.
Maybe.
Does that make sense? I feel like if anybody who's like, oh, like this dude's crazy, what I'm saying? Like you're full of shit. You don't know, like, will I like go watch the show and you'll see that like there's now 4 or 5 people that have been on the show and they've all started out with $100 and people always give them stuff just because they want to work,
Yeah. I'm gonna take more a conservative view on this.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I stayed in my car for a few days, right, here and there, just
Yeah.
because of shit that went on,
Yeah.
and I get it. It was scary
Yeah.
because I was so prideful. I would rather live in my car and figure that out than go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I wanted to stay in Houston and figure out school and stay in school and do all the stuff I was doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a legitimate fear. I was like, yo, what if I like can't afford somewhere to live? Like, how am I gonna do this? And I had plans, right? I'm like, I'm gonna have, clothes in my trunk. I'll shower at the school gym, whatever.
Yeah.
But there are resources out there for people that do go through that.
Yeah.
Now, on the more progressive side,
Mm-hmm.
I will say those resources kind of suck, and finding information on them is difficult if you don't have the resources to do research in the first place.
Right. I agree.
Right?
I agree. That's
So-
why I said
but
for young people, it's definitely something that is a reality and a possibility if things don't go your way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And for young people that are in my situation, right?
Mhm.
Don't feel like you're alone. If you have friends, this is one thing that actually saved me and helped me get back on the right track. I had a really good friend of mine. His name's Ralph, dope dude. I was in a really bad spot. Had nowhere really to go other than home and just leave the city. But I couldn't for other reasons. Who talked to his parents and let me stay there for like 8 months, right? Until I got back on my feet. They didn't charge me rent. They didn't charge me groceries. I just, had to, be courteous of their house and all that. But, talk to friends, talk to family, talk to people that you know. We talked about this before. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to help out.
Yeah.
And the loss sucked. It felt really defeating. For a long time, I was down and out. But then I started getting more into Stoicism. I don't know if you guys know, that's a sense of philosophy, or a sect of philosophy. And started realizing that, sure, this stuff happened. I have to understand what fault I had. But it happened. I have to get through it, right? And from that, to be honest, those lessons learned are what are helping me do stuff like this and take these risks and get on this show and talk about personal stories and be honest with it.
Yeah.
It helped me take the initiative and the jump to start teaching myself skills that got me my full-time job, right? It gave me the ambition to grow my AAU program and understand that even though it might not be a flat curve going up, right, or a nice curve going up, linear curve, it might be something parabolic, right, where it goes down like it kind of is right now, but then we pick it back up.
Yeah.
So, use those resources that you have.
Yeah,
now we have kids and stuff. I get it.
Yeah,
it's
kids,
harder. But again, even now that you have kids, if you have friends and family, they might be even more willing to help.
Yeah.
Right. Until you figure it out.
And I think one of the most, why I say like for young people, it might not even be the fact that they're young. It just might be the mindset that, is common amongst young people that like, well, this is it. Like I don't know what to do, And I just keep on thinking of like in America, you see so many stories of like the immigrant who came here with nothing winning, and that it's so true. And oftentimes
their backs against the wall.
Yeah, their backs against the wall, and wherever they come from, the culture is probably just work. Just whatever you, by any means, work, because that, that's going to get you food at the end of the day. And like I said, if you come with that, I want to win, I want to do anything, I want to contribute, I just want to do something, I feel like you can make it.
Yeah, man. I agree.
Yeah.
But it's important to realize, right? Here's another analogy, and this might be, in the medical sense, kind of incorrect, but from what I know, right, a lot of people that study or practice martial arts, what they do is when they're practicing their kicks, right, they kick really hard and they strengthen their shins by creating micro fractures.
Oh yeah.
Right? They create micro fractures when they're kicking, and basically the way your body's going to heal is by reinforcing that fracture,
okay.
And it makes it stronger.
Yes, sir.
And eventually you have people that have been doing martial arts for a few years, and their shins are hard as concrete, right? Because they've been fracturing, re-strengthening, right? Even when you break a bone, for a while it feels a little bit more brittle, but your body actually reinforces that piece of the body to make sure it doesn't break again. For those of you that lift weights, the reason why you're getting stronger, your muscles getting bigger, is because you're tearing muscle.
Yes, sir.
And your body is rebuilding it.
Go ahead, tell them. Go ahead, tell them. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, sir.
And so there is value in this, right? And
Yeah.
it's funny because I feel like we have this misconception, especially when especially when you're ambitious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see all these big companies, and I'm guilty of this.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, I've been watching this podcast series called Blitz Scaling, and it's a class in Stanford that they recorded and released to the public. And basically, all they do is they go and they talk about and interview some of the most successful companies in the world. And they're not interviewing like a COO, they're interviewing like the CEO and the founder
Mm-hmm.
to talk about what it felt like to build that company. And so far, Microsoft, Google, Airbnb, WeWork, all these guys that are talking have said the exact same thing. When they put their product in the market, it sucked and no one wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We see the Steve Jobs movie, or we hear the story of Steve Jobs, and we see the movie about Bill Gates and documentaries
Mm-hmm.
that show this, extreme climb, right? This exponential climb. But really what it looked like was a little bit of success and the big failure.
Mm-hmm.
Then they reiterated, and then another big success, and then a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Then they reiterated, and it's more like a jagged line.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And they all say the same thing. A lot of the companies that we were competing against at the time, they're really good and they're probably better than us, but as soon as they failed, they couldn't figure it out and gave up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we reinvented ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So like the guy from Airbnb, I think something Chetsky, I think it's like Dan Chetsky or something like that. He was talking about when they first started Airbnb, it was literally a joke that they realized could have a market.
Really?
But their first iteration required, the only time they offered the service was when there were conventions in a town, and the only way a person can stay in someone else's house is if they brought their own air mattress. Yeah, like those were the two guidelines. And so they weren't doing very well because everyone was like, what the hell? Like, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Then they realized, like, why does there have to be a convention? And why do they have to bring their air mattress? If there's already a mattress there, they can just rent that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they sucked for a while, and they launched 3 different times and didn't do well.
Uh-huh.
Right? At one point, he said that they were so broke that they had to invent a cereal called Obama O's to sell for $40 a piece just to fund the company.
Oh man.
Right? And when they went to Y Combinator, and they were talking to Paul Graham.
Yeah.
Paul Graham referred to them as roaches. Like, nah, man, like it's nuclear winter when it comes to funding, and you guys are roaches. You're resilient, you figured it out,
Yeah.
and you have to do whatever it takes to survive, right? Like those failures are what taught them and made them Airbnb, which made a $50 billion IPO.
Yeah.
Like that's what it takes, man. That's the progress.
Man, that's what's up. That hypes me up. That's why like I'm not facing, but like today I'll kind of figure out what my path will be. And I'm not really worried because in my head, I'm like, okay, if he doesn't want to do this, this is the start of my Cinderella story. Like this is the start of when, Evan starts his journey with no one wants to help him type thing, And so I've kind of started looking for those kind of things in my life, whether they be big or not, just to reinforce myself along the way. Like this is how it's supposed to go,
Yeah, man. So let's be real here. I already mentioned one story, but what's one thing recently that you failed at and it felt like a loss, right?
Yeah.
That you had to reiterate yourself or reteach yourself in a different fashion, or what's the word I'm looking for? Review it, right? Review it in a different fashion to make it feel like you're progressing. And how did it make you more valuable?
Dang, you put me on the spot with this one.
Spotlight, bro. If we were in person, I would have a flashlight right in your face.
Dang, man. I mean, I'm gonna take the easy way out of this one.
Ooh.
I'm gonna take the easy way out. Just the oh man, this is tough. Can I flip the question on you while I think?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Marcel, what is something that you recently evaluated and had to change your perspective on in order to make you more valuable? Silence.
So I got 2, but I'm going to choose one.
Okay.
And this is going to sound weird, but my education. So for those of you that don't know, I went to Houston Baptist University. I really disliked the school for several different reasons, and I ended up going $60,000 in debt trying to get my education because I had to go an extra year that actually doubled the amount of debt I had in the first place. And I felt like it was worthless. Like, I feel like I didn't get anything out of it. The school didn't offer me any resources, right? Or even when I looked, there was nothing that gave me a path forward, and I had to figure everything out myself. And the biggest part about this was, in the genre and category of education, self-education that, Evan and I pursue and the people I'm around, going to school is like usually frowned upon, right? Like, why go to school and get $60,000 in debt? Like, you don't need school. You don't need school. And it's all these people, and a lot of them are fake gurus, right? That are like telling you like school's not necessary. And for a long time,
just to clarify, he's talking about like just the kind of the environment on the internet for people who are entrepreneurs on social media, and
and it's not even that.
They're big naysayers of
classical education, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even that. I had some people around me that are successful and they didn't go to school and they kind of read it the same thing, right? So it was like reinforced in my head, like, why did I come here just to pick up all this debt? And it wasn't so much the fact of that, like the education, right? Like I enjoyed my professors, I enjoyed, the major I had, but for $60,000 in debt, I was kind of jaded. And in fact, we had a discussion about this before we started recording. For me, I had to realize, one, it happened, right? My girlfriend reiterates this too. Like, it's there. It's not just going to disappear, right? You got the degree.
Well,
and now I have to realize,
it might.
Only like $10,000. Anyways, let's hope, right?
Yeah.
So, but I had to realize, okay, fuck it. Like, I got the education. I made the mistake of, one, not keeping track of what classes I actually needed because my advisors didn't help me, right? So I had to take the extra year. Oh, well. 5 years in college, who cares? I got a good degree. I got a good major. I'm not gonna say good degree because I'm skeptical of HBU. But what can I do myself to build off of this, right? I can pay down my debt. I can do it now, right? I just have to be strategic and I have to plan financially.
Yeah.
But now what I'm gonna do is leverage that fact that I have this major, which is physics, and I'm gonna educate myself in other different topics, which I did. So I learned how to code, right? I'm not gonna say I'm a great coder, right? I'm average at Python. But that skill differentiates me from other people, right? I started running a business my sophomore year. So now I have experience in business development.
Yeah.
And so I leveraged that, which actually got me my first internship. Right? And now, guess what? Because I got that internship and I have experience coding, I have more experience, which got me a job at the current company I'm at, right? Which increased my salary. So now I'm making more money than I've ever made before. Because of the skills. And so now I'm looking at, okay, what other skill can I do now to keep going forward?
Right.
And so in reality, I did need school. All I needed was that piece of paper. And everything else I did myself, but that's because I realized I can do it myself.
Yeah.
I don't need a school to recruit for me. It'd be nice. It's awesome to hear those people that, go to like UT Austin and then they go get an interview, and just because they went to UT Austin, they have that favoritism, right?
Yeah.
It's not me. I didn't get that. Oh well, right? But I did get a physics degree, which only like 900 people in the entire U.S. get a year, which is extremely rare. I can leverage that to do more. And so I did research, and I found that a lot of people that I actually look up to, right, and these huge companies that I would love to work for, guess what they majored in? Physics, right? So despite the debt, there are ways and paths going forward. And the debt's there. Now I just got to handle it.
Yeah.
I hope that was a decent example.
Man, I'm drawing blanks. No, man, because like I think I fully evolved in a very short period of time. So like I went to school for basketball, and at first I went to school for basketball. And then I don't.
That's a good lesson, man. The fact that you went to HBU, you walked on, then you had to transfer and got hurt. That okay. I hate to like put words in your mouth, but that should be your example.
Well, I'm talking through it because there's even more to it than just that, right? And so like you said, I went to HBU, walked on, then I got hurt and I transferred, and I got a scholarship, and Suddenly I was like, okay, like I'm, and I even had teammates who I remember. I'll never forget this, and I don't know why it stuck in my head so much, but this is my second year now at HBU because my first year, not my second. This is my second year at my school in North Dakota, University of Mary. Um, the first year I sat out because I had surgery, but I remember I had a teammate, and he comes from, I think he was from Oakland, and he was like, man, I didn't come here for school. I came here for basketball, right, Evan? And I was like, nah, bro, I'm here for school. Nah, I don't know what had happened, but there was like a literal change in my mindset where I was like, nah, now I'm here because it's free and I'm about to get this degree, right? Like, my dream didn't work out, but I'm not about to take this opportunity and drop it, right? And so then at that point, my mindset was, okay, now I'm gonna get a good degree and I'm gonna get a nice job, right? Just like my mom wanted. I'm gonna have a very good life, which it is so far. Um, but so then, I graduated and I started working, and I was like, dang, I've worked some tough jobs. Like I worked in the factories before.
But I didn't know this.
Yeah, I did
What
third.
was out there making shoelaces?
No, but I did third shift, and like I remember, like that's work. That's like your manual labor, unloading trucks and stuff like that. Um, and I remember it wasn't the worst thing in the world because at that time, I was probably making like 17 an hour, which was a lot for me at the time. That was the most I'd ever made. But it was work, right? And I remember I was working with people who were there for like 20 years, or not even 20 years, longer than 20 years, right? And I'm just like, I could never, I'm like, I could never. And then I got to like real my like career work, right? And in my head, I'm like, how can someone do this for 20 years? Like I something, there was still some sort of like uncomfortableness, even though I'm making more and doing less physical activity, right? Um, and so I think that my mind has kind of perceived something totally different now. And I don't know if you ever watched that video that I'd sent you. It's on the Joe Rogan Experience. Um, I don't remember the guy's last name, but his first name.
Naval Ravikant.
Yep, Naval. Did you end up watching that?
I watched the whole thing.
He had some good views, but
interesting views.
Interesting views. That's what I should
definitely
say.
Against the normal.
Yeah, definitely. I shouldn't say good. They were interesting. I was fond of them. But one of the things that he talks about is how, today it's more common to work for somebody than to work for yourself, right? And that wasn't always the way of the world. You thinking back to like tribal times, you're not necessarily working for somebody, but you're working for yourself, but you're working for like the greater good of society, right? You're hunting
to survive.
Yeah, you're hunting for the group of people that you live with. You're just doing those kind of activities, right? And then then people started, well, in Europe specifically, like there was colonization and stuff like that. And so you kind of have more of like a hierarchy. And still, even then, you had blacksmiths that were working for themselves, like whatever your trade was, you were still doing that for yourself, but there was a ceiling to where you were getting. And so then brought the Industrial Revolution, and
I like how it's turned into a history lesson.
Hey, but you'll see where I'm going. And the conversation that they had really like brought this thing full circle for me. And so in the Industrial Revolution was like the first not the first time, but like the largest mass movement of people working for other people, right? Like for the first time there was factories and giant companies that were producing, that needed workers. And so you go get a job with them, and that has kind of been engraved into like the foundation of the United States. And so moving forward with that, now we're kind of, couple 100 years later or so, and coronavirus hits, and everything is kind of becoming more, well, not even coronavirus. This is happening. This is coronavirus kind of, I feel like may have sped it up slightly, but you start to see people. So social media was a big factor. People started representing themselves. There's always been small businesses, but I'd say that it's more on the front, in your face now.
It's like pop culture now.
Yeah, it's becoming part of the culture to practice something, right? Like I can't go on Facebook without seeing someone who's making t-shirts, or someone who's making cups, like custom cups, or selling food or whatever. Some people are selling their own stuff. Now I'm not saying like people are stepping away from their jobs by any means, but there's a lot of people who don't have those formal education, formal 9 to 5 corporate jobs, that are becoming their own bosses. And Naval mentions this. He believes that society will eventually move into a place where everyone is working for themselves, providing their own skill set in one way or another. And technology will really enable it, just because there's so many apps that are just already doing that. Like we're kind of practicing with like things like Uber and stuff, like where you're getting a rating for passenger and driver, and just grading experiences with different people and that are on the marketplace. And so I was like, this is where my mind came full circle. Well, like if this is kind of where we're going to end up, I feel like it feels better in my head. That feels like it would be a better fit for my life than working for a large company. And so at this point, like obviously I have a job, so I am employable, but like my mentality is that I'm unemployable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to get at, I think that's the wrong way to frame it. I think you believe the same thing I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to the victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel like an employee.
Mm-hmm.
I constantly view myself as like a third party contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Like currently, this is who I'm working for.
Yeah.
Right? This is the project I'm working on
Right.
for this company.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm developing and representing myself because these are the skills I bring. This is why I'm here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to try to let the company dictate what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel you.
I feel like a lot of people just kind of go with the flow, and that's where they end up in this employee mindset.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, I work for them.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I'm working for myself. They're just paying me the check.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I like
make
that.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
And so even as I'm working this job, I'm developing skills
Mm-hmm.
and trying to find things to learn from this job,
Mm-hmm.
right? That will make me more valuable in the end.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you bring a good point with with coronavirus. Not only are people more active
Mm-hmm.
with trying to, represent themselves and be more, entrepreneurial,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have that entrepreneur mindset. But you have to realize 30 million people were unemployed. 10% of the country was unemployed.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So I'm glad that this is pushing, like pop culture is pushing this idea of be your own boss,
Yeah.
make yourself valuable.
Exactly.
Because that is important.
Have a skill and be able to sell that skill. Right.
Yeah, because that's the only thing about this. Everyone talks about recession proof this, recession proof that. There's nothing that's recession proof. It just depends on the type of recession that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, yeah, hospitals and things are, they're recession proof. Unless, right, something happens to our healthcare system where it collapses. That could also be a recession, and now all of a sudden hospitals are shutting down. right? Like, so the only way you make yourself valuable and make yourself recession proof is if you have different facets of skills. Like, sure, I'm a nurse by trade, but guess what? I can also paint houses if I need to. I understand interior design,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, like, yeah, I understand physics and this and that. I also understand software, and guess what? I also understand the AAU side of basketball. Oh, I also understand business development and marketing, things I can try to facet myself into in case I have to, if I have to pivot.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so last night we had a meeting. Really, it's just me and my girlfriend, but to develop my AAU brand.
Yeah.
But one thing I realized is like I have to start treating myself like a startup instead of
I love that, bro.
Yeah, instead of trying to be so hard set on this is what I'm gonna do, I have to be ready to say this is what I'm planning to do. But if I hit a hard stop, I'm more than ready to pivot around it, right, and just go around that wall into a different path because that might be the best path.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. Well, that's like what you just said, like treating yourself like a startup. I like that because that's kind of what I was trying to get across with me pitching this idea. Like I wanted it, it could have been very informal, right? But like to get to where I want to go, I want to treat it like I'm in there with Google. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so yeah, man, I like your idea or your perspective on having that. I would call it an entrepreneurial career. I don't know.
Words are hard.
Yeah, they are, especially for me. Yeah, man. I agree with you though. I think that was dope.
So we're about at almost an hour of recording.
Damn.
I think it's gonna be like 50 minutes in the end. So let's try to wrap it up so we don't bore people out of the mouth. Let's touch back because I think we touched on a bunch of different points.
Okay.
So biggest takeaways. 3 biggest takeaways. What do you think are?
Man, biggest takeaways. One, look at yourself not as a broken person or a damaged person, but someone who is more valuable now. Think about the quotes that we said with a man or a woman will be able to see further through a tear than a telescope. The second thing is to be what's a good word for being flexible,
adaptable.
Yeah, be adaptable. If you want it, don't let something get in your way. Don't be a victim. And 3, I think what we just spoke about with kind of viewing yourself as everything you're doing can have a purpose that can benefit you in your everyday job or the goal you're trying to hit with whatever business you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think those are the things. Your experience is a blessing. Be flexible, get around those obstacles, don't be a victim, and just be a business in yourself. Be a businessman.
I agree. I think the first one's a good point, right? Don't look at yourself as like a victim. Look at yourself as a veteran.
Yeah, hey, I like that.
Now you went through
vets
it.
Over victims.
Yeah. 2, I wouldn't say don't let something get in your way, but understand that nothing should stop your journey. Right?
I agree.
If you're really about it, nothing should stop your journey. Even if you hit a roadblock, you just find another path. Right? And then 3, treat yourself like a business. Treat yourself like you're the product.
Yeah.
And companies are buying the product from you. And that will help you kind of have a different mindset. Even if you have a 9-to-5, right? You can still have an entrepreneur mindset. You can still try to be innovative and build.
Be that 9-to-5 millionaire.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Another one. This is what? 16. Let's go.
16.
We keep it.
Let's go.
2021.
Again, like, comment, subscribe if y'all enjoyed the video.
Share it. Send this to somebody. Send this to 2 people.
Share feedback. Get on us. Say we're stupid. Say we're smart. Say whatever you want, right? Be a part of the conversation. We just want the interaction and be awesome.
Yes, sir. All right, man.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Catch you later.
Yes, sir. Peace.